Okay, guys.
What?
Continue, go.
Hi, we are Book Club Americanah.
Welcome. We have dates
And books.
and hatred for this
For the main
book.
character, obviously.
Every part of this book.
The ending of this book was so frustrating. I mean, and the characters themselves, but they were so realistic, which is what made it great.
I love
Yes.
the social commentary part of it. That's what made me really love this book. But I hated the people we had to experience the world with.
Except for Dyke. I love Dyke.
Dyke.
Dyke, yes.
I like the representation that Dyke, like,
I really
Yeah.
loved how we were constantly thrown at her her issues and her depression, and then suddenly we as well are really clueless to his
taken
own.
aback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it, I was like, what? And I don't even know if she left hints throughout the book, but it really shows how much depression and with teenagers especially, it's totally you never know when it's there.
And it
And
shows
that is
go
so
ahead, sorry.
real. That
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
what is happening every day in the world.
And it shows his personal identity crisis, kind of caused by his mother. I mean, and it throws in the race and everything, and how they've walked on eggshells his entire life about what and who and where, which contributes,
Yeah. I also felt with Auntie Juju and Dyke, they're so contrasting, and whenever Ifemalu's with them, she's almost unconsciously with two parts of her life, because you have Auntie Juju who's Nigeria and all these memories, because her childhood, a
Yeah.
lot of what we see with her childhood is tied to Auntie Juju and her affair and stuff, and just that. And then with Dyke, a lot of her first experiences in America are tied with having those memories with Dyke and kind of enjoying America, because at first it was really scary, but enjoying it with this small boy who is her cousin.
Yeah, and can we talk about Auntie Juju for a second? Because that was probably, she's not my favorite person of the book, but she might be my favorite character just because of her arc and how.
Yeah, she
My
has
favorite
really
character
good
arc,
arc.
yes.
Yeah.
Above all characters, she developed the most. And I was actually really happy, because at the beginning of the book, I'm oh, it's a character. And then we actually, because she's really admired by Ifemalu. And then later, she's we kind of really see her in her light. And I was really happy with her and where she ended up.
It's not like Ifemalu's character arc in which Ifem just developed when she had a boyfriend or some other kind of figure in her life. Auntie Juju developed throughout the book like a normal character, or kind of a more normal person would.
Yeah, and I find it very interesting how she was put on this pedestal by Ifem about being this role model, and that's honestly where she got her example of conforming to your partner at the time,
Yeah.
and, which I think it's a very big aspect of her personality, because honestly, Auntie Juju is probably her biggest role model and mother figure over her own mother in her childhood.
And when we first met her, I was oh, it's just a side character. We won't know anything about her really. But then there's that great big arc that happens, and I really loved that. That's great.
She also judges Auntie Juju. I like how we're just all talking about Auntie. She's inspirational. But she judges her so much, oh, she's with the general all the time. And then when she goes to America, she's oh, all she does is complain about how she's not becoming a doctor fast enough. But in reality, a lot of what Ifem does is so parallel to what she does. Whenever she's not with a boyfriend, she feels the constant need to have someone's love and affection, even though she doesn't directly feel that way. And also with her job, if she's not in a stable point, we don't see it often because she's normally in a pretty stable job, but at that first part when she was in America and she was unable to get a job, she was constantly blaming outside forces.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is what Auntie Juju did a lot when she wasn't becoming a doctor.
And then I find it interesting how if she doesn't see the similarities that she has to the negative qualities of Auntie Juju, because she looks at her life with these rose-colored glasses sort of thing, except for when it's not convenient for her. But she, like you said, judges. She's very judgmental.
She likes to pick and choose characteristics.
Exactly.
And she sees herself in it's she puts herself on a pedestal. She thinks she's better than everyone else. And it doesn't help that everyone in her life has always said, you're beautiful, you're smart, you're successful, and they've helped her get to the point where she is. And I feel even throughout the book, even at the ending, we never really address that point of how she's been kind of given a silver spoon. Even though people have been racist to her, she's constantly told, oh, you're the most beautiful of Black people, like,
Exactly.
and like even though she was experiencing racism, she had this boyfriend who was rich and like chased away her bad things with all his money. And then Blaine, who was like the perfect Black boyfriend. He's classy. She's constantly put in this place where she doesn't have to address the bad sides of her thing, of her identity,
Exactly.
because people are constantly praising her for not being.
Yeah, and then she looks down on other relationships and a lot of Nigerian women and even her auntie on how they built their entire lifestyle around their boyfriend. Like they helped them get started. They had the money. They handled everything. But Kurt handed her entire lifestyle in America to her with his money, and she just doesn't seem to connect the fact that she did the exact same thing that everyone she's always judged for doing that
The
did.
Kurt, like, and also with the like how Nigerian women will look the other way when their significant other is having an affair. She kind of did that with Kurt, because when Kurt was like emotional cheating, I guess, with that one woman he was talking to, she kind of was like, oh, I forgive you. But we really don't see her being upset with it, which is also another part of her character where she expects everyone to not be fully committed to a relationship.
Exactly.
Like at the end with Obinze, she's like, the affair. She expects him to love her more than his child and his wife. And even with Blaine, when they weren't in a relationship, and he was like, oh, I'm kind of in a relationship, she kind of was a little miffed that he didn't call her, even though he explained, like, oh, I was in a relationship. She's constantly like, she talks about it like it's a bad thing, like, oh, Nigerian women. But she herself kind of lives in this bubble of like, oh, relationships are loose. You can, if you're attracted to someone, you should just like.
You should act on it every time.
Even if you're not, like, her like ideology is like, if you're not actually like, if you don't say you love them, it's not cheating, even if you physically do things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then when she talks about at the end how she's always viewed sex as something that's just
Pleasure.
You think someone's attractive, it's
Go ahead.
You just do it.
do it. But
Totally disagree with that. because
it's a little more intimate than that. I think she figured that out at the end, but at the same time,
She
can we
did.
talk about Ogunze a little bit?
Sure.
He-
We've been talking about it.
One more thing. I remember how she like cheated on one of her boyfriends.
Yeah,
I
it was
forget. Kurt, yeah.
Yeah.
And then she was like, it's not that big of a deal. And like, Kurt
That
was like,
was-
it is.
And then
that was
she
that was hypocritical.
Yeah, and it does say, I'm just gonna, it does say, he like calls her a bitch in the book, and she's like, my goodness, I've been betrayed, and was like, you cheated on him.
And then she's like,
people.
aren't you curious?
Yeah, like with Obinze, she's like, aren't you curious about other women? And
There's only one correct answer to this, and like, if Mio like really like shoves that down his throat, like.
yeah.
Well, and then it shows how Kurt is not a phenomenal person either. Because I mean, he did cheat. Did he have sex with this other woman? No, we don't think so.
I don't think so. He was talking to her.
Online, wasn't it online?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was still, cheating comes in all different forms, and he was like, it's not that big of a deal. I love you. It's fine. It's fine.
Like, it was a mistake. I'm sorry, babe, please. Like,
Yeah, but and then when it has, yeah, what goes around does come around. Even though I don't agree with either of their actions.
Yes. Anyway.
That relationship was just.
Yeah.
Every relationship in this book is not okay. Great.
But I think that really kind of brings out everyone's flaws, and which makes the book like a good book. Like,
Exactly.
Good book,
Yeah.
objectively.
Yeah. So Obinze, we want to talk
Yeah.
about him.
Personally, I very much liked him until we got further into it. Until we started to see him just running back to FM, even before she moved back to Nigeria. When he got the email, and he was like, oh my gosh, she's moving back.
He's like, all his characters are teenagers on hormones.
Yes.
So, like, my biggest problem, I liked him more than Ifem after they both, like, left Nigeria. And I like, sympathized with him when he was like, oh, I can't get citizenship, I have to do things.
Exactly.
But then I also was upset with how we don't really, Ifem was constantly, like, we know everything about her. She, like, we were with her for everything. And then Obinze, we got one small snippet of his life. And then it cuts off right where I really wanted to read about with him facing the struggles of returning back to his country. I was
Exactly.
like, that's
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah, and I think that's why we like him more. It's because we don't get as much of his story, so we don't see as much of his flaws.
Yes.
But and then at the end, his flaws are just
Right there.
shown. They're right there in front of
he's
you.
such a pathetic character. He's so like, I hate to like whipped for her.
Oh yes! Oh my
Like
gosh!
everything. He has a wife, and I'm not saying like even though their relationship was not like even if they didn't have a good relationship, he like you're married to her, and you know that yes,
Yeah.
your child, and like above all else, prioritize your child.
She barely even talked about his kid.
That was
Yeah.
what I wanted to punch her. It's just like her, like it's a child, his child, and I feel like you love him, you know.
Yeah.
But shouldn't you love his child, someone who you should love above you? You're his mistress, like.
Yeah. Well, and people say that you never really lose hold of your first love, but that doesn't mean you go cheat on your wife. And honestly, that in turn, that's cheating on your child as well.
Yeah.
He kind of betrays. She's like, oh, you're betraying our love at the end when he's like, I have to go see my wife and child. But in reality, he's just betraying like
His wife and his child.
this family he's and like he made those decisions. I'm not like trying to throw Ngozi, his wife.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to throw her words back at him, but he made the decision to marry her. There's a certain level of responsibility that you don't have when you're like dating someone.
Completely
So I mean,
agree. Yeah.
but,
And
like,
especially since they brought a child into the world,
Yeah.
and it made it sound like he regretted having his child because he was like, I never should have married Ngozi, and then
that's
Then he has a
That doesn't-
child. Like
That doesn't give you the excuse to have an affair and not care about your child. You have this child to take care of.
I really didn't
You
like
need
how Bucci, that was his child's name. I think it's Bucci.
We were talking about it before you got here.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
just like,
So
back to
I
names.
hated how she was written as like just another extension of Ngozi and their marriage. When in reality, a child is something that is
Its own person.
singularly,
Yeah.
like it should not be written. And I mean, I do love the way the author writes, but this was a little thing that irked me. There are little things throughout this book that irked me, but I really didn't like how she,
the
well, like the story, but like based on her writing and the author's doing rather than the story, I did not like how she would like to the child. Like, I feel like in a real life, it would maybe hold more hold over someone's decision. You know?
Yeah.
Well,
Go
I
ahead.
mean,
Sorry.
I'm gonna bring in some personal things with this. My father, he doesn't really care what happens to me and my sister and how his decisions affect us. So I kind of relate to his child in that, and I just disagree completely with what he's doing.
I know. Well, and see, and that's kind of similar because we're estranged from my biological grandfather for a lot of reasons, and a lot of it has to do with race. My mom is something we're not overly sure, but he doesn't want anything to do with it, especially me, because I take after her a lot. But I think I kind of disagree with you about what the author did, because I think she did that on purpose, because there are a lot of parents that don't take heed to the fact that their child should be not necessarily the center of their whole world, because you have to take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
But a lot of people put their children and their childhoods in the back seat and they just leave them.
Yeah. And that's probably what the author was trying to talk about as well, because a lot of when she was describing a lot of people and relationships, a lot of the like people in Nigeria were tied to relationships she knew, and Obinze and Ifemelu were constantly viewing these people, and they were like, oh, that person cheats on this person, that person does this, like, why can't we do it? So I mean, like, they don't really learn from the lessons that when they were younger, they saw. So
Repeating their parents' mistakes.
yeah.
I've seen a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, in real life too.
Yeah.
I wanted to see more about like the whole religion thing with her mom.
Yeah.
Me too.
That was the thing that never like fully. I thought it would be more because it's such a big deal when she was younger, but it just kind of goes away.
Which I think her parents in general, it's really,
Yeah, they kinda
even
do.
at the end when she moved back, they just,
Like, you didn't really
Yeah.
see them that much, and they were really in there. And it was
Yeah.
like,
And there was such a
Why?
big part, and I thought it felt kind of like a loose end that I kind of wanted to be resolved. But I mean, it's supposed to be like a snippet of someone's life. Not everything's going to be resolved.
Yeah. Like
I mean, That kind of makes sense though, because with people that you encounter in life, you don't really hear their whole backstory, which makes sense. So, like, she judges people without knowing their background, and that's with a lot of people do that today. So, I mean, it makes sense why she put that in there.
Yeah. And then I mean, that's one of the things that I really didn't like about FM's personality, especially because, I mean, like you said, even in real life, you don't know everybody's backstory. No one except, you know, if you were to have a very, very, very detailed diary or something,
Yes.
you're not going to know. I mean, there are things that people forget about their own lives. You're never going to know a person wholly. You have to learn together, but at the same time, even at the hair salon, she's like, these women are so African and like, nah.
They're so uncultured.
I'm so much better
They
than
just
them.
came to America to marry off some person
Marry some
just so
boys.
they can have the benefits of, you know. And so she's like, I came here and I went to school here and I got a respectable job and I have a respectable, and all my boyfriends were respectable.
Yeah.
And like, she's constantly like doing this like thing where, I don't even know if there's a word for it, but she's constantly doing this thing where she can't be like, how do I just, like if an analogy will work. Like if she has to get a job, she would constantly work so hard to get a job that would be seen as professional, like, oh, I'd want to work in like a lab rather than like get a job at a fast food place because it's bad for her image.
Yeah, she cares a lot about her image, and I feel like it kind of discusses that in the book a bit about how Nigerians spend all their like money on images and stuff, and not actual like smart investments.
Like a well-crafted
Yeah.
facade is worth more than something that's practical.
And sadly, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to catch myself a lot of the times because, I mean, a job's a job, especially if you need it. And, and we care so much, even from a young age, about our reputations, which is not a bad thing per se, but if you're constantly doing these things
Yeah,
that
it
are...
affects the way you have to function properly as a human being. Like, if you can't pay your bills because you are still trying to find a job that society deems respectable. Like by respectable I mean like, oh, they're the hot upper middle class level jobs. Then that's like not okay. We actually see that like she hits her low point in the book is when she's forced to have to like apply for jobs she sees as beneath her.
Yeah.
Which is... Go ahead, sorry.
I feel like a lot of people struggle with that today. Even at school, their image is the main focus, other than their grades or any other thing that can help them get into college and then get a job and then all that.
Yeah, and then honestly, their image is their grades, especially with a lot of, I mean, us and our group of people that we hang out with. If you don't have a 4.0, you're a bad person.
Yeah.
You're not going anywhere.
Deemed irrespectable, like
Exactly. And
if
then
you don't take all AP classes, then
you're
just
scum.
stupid.
Yeah.
Or go work at McDonald's. Like.
I feel that also tied in, that happened with her, like, just to switch topics, like with her hair. She, like, when she was with Kurt, she, even though he didn't tell her to, she was constantly straightening it, and, like, she was like, I have to do this, and she was going out of her way to do things like that.
Well, and then this will be mainly on another episode, but there is a big stigma against hair that is not straight or wavy, and it's deemed in a lot of places. It's getting a little bit better as unprofessional. So many women and men, for that matter, either chop it all off, or they straighten it, or they relax it, which is about the worst thing you could
My
do.
hair, I've been told not to relax it.
Yes.
And I've wanted to multiple times, but they're like, no, don't do that, your hair looks fine. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, I've never actually relaxed mine, but I mean, I've straightened it to the point where I have bald spots that still haven't grown back because it's very sensitive, and I straightened in 7th grade, and I'm still dealing with the repercussions of that. So.
I don't have definitely not as much effort that would have to go into your hair, but I do have hair that curls in water, and I have a lot of hair, so it gets really fluffy. And I very clearly remember in middle school, I would stay, like, I had to have enough time to straighten my hair, and I would make sure my hair was straight every day, which it probably does not take as much time, but still, like, I had to have it straight, and I, like, freaked out. And I only, like, just, like, at the end of last year was when I was like, why am I even trying? Like,
no one notices.
No
like,
one notices. And it's just, like, the utter, like, I would purposely, like, not go out to, like, shop or something because my hair had not been straightened yet. And it's, like, so sad. Like, no one's gonna care. There are so many people, like, it doesn't matter if your hair, I straightened it today because I wanted to, because you should do something if you want to.
Exactly,
Yeah.
Like, if you want to straighten your hair and it's going to take a while, only do it if it makes you happy. But I stopped doing it to make me happy. I started doing it because I thought I would look bad without it.
Mhm.
So that's
Yeah.
definitely wrong. We'll go into that.
Yeah,
we have an entire
tangent.
Just a little,
Mm-hmm.
it's a preview.
Snippet.
What is this episode even? Is this just like everything?
Yeah,
it's
just-
it mainly characters.
Book review. We'll
Yeah.
do this book review.
Yeah, but one of the things I appreciated about Ngozi is that he didn't quite have the image disease like if
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah.
I mean, especially because in
Maybe
England,
it's like-
he did work. He was, I mean, what
He
we
took the first job that came to him, and he wasn't
He
pick and
was-
choose.
I feel
Yeah.
like he was so much more like, I'm doing whatever it is to get me here. I gotta have a fake marriage. Let's go.
Let's do
people.
this, and then that would
He
have been so
cares
good.
so little about his reputation, which was so refreshing.
it was.
Because probably also he didn't go to, because she went to a higher up like school, like she went
Yeah.
to Princeton.
Which is
He just like went to college in Nigeria and he just came to England to get citizenship. So he wasn't really surrounded by people who, because I guess like if she was in a place where like, I feel like they wouldn't understand like why she was acting like this with like, it's like Americans. We like to think we don't care about reputation. Like
Yeah.
we're like,
yeah.
what you do is great. So they wouldn't have understood her like struggles of like, my reputation has to be perfect. But he was surrounded by people who like he was friends with back home. So they were like, oh yeah, you need to do this for your reputation. We totally get that. So he didn't have as much of an identity crisis as she did.
And then to add on to that, us as a society, we like to preach everything you do to get where you're going is worth it. But at the same time, we throw around the phrase, if you're not careful, guess where you're gonna work? You're gonna work at a fast food chain.
Yeah.
It's like this American dream that you start from nothing and you're gonna make it, but
Yeah,
you
Yeah.
gotta
You're gonna do great, sweetie.
you gotta chutzpah, you'll get anywhere. Chutzpah's my newspaper word. I've been using it all weekend. If you've got enough chutzpah, you'll get anywhere in the world.
I love that.
That
I
sounds
love
very
that so much.
Jersey, by the
I
way.
know, I just, you got enough chutzpah. I like you.
Make eye contact with me every single time. You're more Jewish than I am. Honestly.
Anyway, date.
Don't worry, we have a trash can. You can see it over here.
Anyway, but like this American dream concept of start from nothing, you'll be respected. And I guess that is like once you're at that high point, it's respectable. You grew from nothing. But when you're at this like bottom level, you're just like the scum of the earth.
Yep. And
Like-
it's really hard to change your reputation to get up that high
Yeah.
and change people's view on you.
Yeah.
Exactly, and then since we've opened up the can of worms, we have the socio-economic patterns that repeat themselves, especially, everywhere, but we notice it here, it's in our backyard, that the parents make bad decisions, and then the kids end up making bad decisions, and then they stay stuck in the same town, incarcerated, issues,
And it's because people are constantly enforcing your head like your parents and the people around you,
Define
they
you.
define you. Like if you
Yeah.
come from like set the scene, you come from a small town, your parents, druggies, sure. I'm just setting the scene here. Like, and you're not doing well. And it's true, a lot of your childhood, which is the most developmental time for any person, is probably gonna be impacted by the people around you because a lot of your actions, they're not just you as a person, but outer sources are going to affect you. So, like, if your parents, I've set the scene, druggies, sure, let's play with
Drug
this,
addiction.
and you're just this kid who's trying to do her homework. Maybe you're not going to get it done because your parents are constantly fighting because, drugs or whatever. And then that's going to be hard because you're going to make bad grades. And so it's constant. It's not like it's unreal that, like, a lot of your background is going to determine it, but it's that we force it so much that, like, you're not going to do it.
Yeah, like,
So-
isn't the American dream? You come from nothing, and now you're like a millionaire, and you got it. But
The American dream is dead. We know that from
Yeah.
Gatsby.
obviously,
No one really, not very many people get there. Like,
Yeah,
like no one gets there.
It's just
Yeah.
this false thing.
there's few people
And,
that get
and
that
it's so hard to escape the pattern.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really special when you meet someone who has like Alton Carter and I mean even my own mother, we're not gonna go into that, that's a long story. But and then like as I said in class the other day, I really do believe that children learn by example.
They do.
Oh, yeah.
They really do.
And they have to break themselves out of it because chances are they've made some stupid decisions at one point or another and then they've had the wake-up call that if I don't stop, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Because people are constantly telling you, like, oh, your parents, because, like, I guess a lot in the world, you're like, oh, your parents did this, like, even in a positive way, like, oh, your parents went to this college, you'll get there, sweetie.
Yeah.
But, like, if you're like, oh, my parents are in jail, they're probably going to be like, oh, they know,
Probably
like,
end up
it
there
runs in the
too.
family,
Yeah.
it's just in the genes, you know, you can't change them.
And that's what a lot
Which is, like, yeah.
And then image is such a phony thing, and I hate that I'm so focused on it myself because I constantly have to have this image. I've built it since I was little. I'm the goody two shoes,
Yes.
straight A's,
I
perfection.
It's also the way people react outside, like with me. I understand. I'm a physically weak person. But
She could lift the chair like 20 minutes
hey,
earlier.
it was a heavy chair.
It was a pretty heavy
Yeah,
chair.
yeah.
Okay, I am aware. It's a fact. I'm a physically weak person, but I hate, and it happens, and I've had friends who I've been friends with since like first grade elementary school who still see me as someone who is a meek person who can't like stand up for herself, which is the most annoying thing ever, and I hate being categorized in this box of like, she can't do anything wrong. She like, oh my gosh, if you say a curse word around her, she'll faint from, and it's so annoying that like, even an image you don't try to build for yourself is still built for you by small actions that you do. Like, oh, I care about my grades. She's in a box now. Like,
Yeah.
you're constantly, and people are so shocked when you defy.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just like, whoa.
Yes.
And isn't there like, wasn't there this girl that you said you liked like Fall Out Boy or something like that? And
Yes! Oh my gosh! So one of my favorite bands is Fall Out Boy. I love the bass, okay? But like, it was a friend, same friend who I used as an example for first grade. She told me, like, and I told her, oh my gosh, I've been really liking this song. And she told me, you can't really like them. Because she is part of a group in school, I guess the emo group, for lack of a better term, where that's classically their music, I guess. And she was like, you can't like them. And I was like, why? Just because I am not this image you've set to like this group? Like, even though the main majority of people maybe like her friend group would like this group, this band, it doesn't, she expected me to just like, you know, they're newer, you're not a fan, even though like, listen to every album. And it's really annoying that like this image, that like my image, this box she's placed me in, cannot associate. And it takes away, and it also, it like affects your kind of, inner belief, confidence.
Yeah.
Your confidence in yourself.
Self-esteem.
Yeah. Like, so then I really, like, I remember going home and I stopped following them on Instagram because I felt like, oh, people are going to think, oh, she doesn't like them, so what's the point of even, like, publicly showing that I do? And then I remember I only started a year later when I was hanging out at Kata's house, and I was telling them the story, and they're like, why the heck do you care what they say? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to follow them on Instagram, and I still do. I am proud that I love a Fall Out Boy.
Yeah, and then I've learned as I've gotten older, because anyone who actually even half knows me knows I'm not exactly pristine, question mark. I'm very sarcastic. I don't have much of a filter, and honestly, I could be a bit of an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to throw that out there.
I feel like people like believe like, even just like, I guess our general friend group, people are like, someone once called us popular, and I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But like, I guess from like, in a general gist, when you're in a big friend group and most of them have pretty good grades and are seen as the good kids, they're like, oh my gosh, they don't do anything. But like, if you've been in our friend group.
Exactly, and what you see is what you get. If you actually, most people are like, oh, I've known her since elementary school. She's so sweet and like, but then when you know me, I'm not. I mean, I can be sweet, of course, but I've got a very unusual sense of humor, and I'm very, very sarcastic
Yes.
and dry. That's a lot of dry humor.
Oh,
But I mean, I learned there's been stuff along the way, like the deployments with my dad and such, that I learned to kind of suppress those things about myself. And there's only a handful of people who honestly know me at all. And yeah, you just learn as you get older that your reputation, it's what people see before they actually see you.
And it's
Once
really
they first-
sad.
yeah.
It's drilled in your head that, like, you have to hide what you, like, okay, so, like, from a childhood, I'm just going to use, so my parents and my family, like, and me, I am a Democrat. It leads up with my beliefs. But every time, and at a young age especially, they were always like, you cannot, because Oklahoma's predominantly Republican,
Yep.
and so they constantly were telling me, like, you cannot, no politics at all, because they will hate you. And, like, I remember I followed that to a T, and the only second I stopped to think, why can't I voice it, was when I met you, because you were the most social justice warrior ever. You were all like, huh.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, so I still do that. I still have a tendency to be like, sit down, let's not get into an argument. Because, like, it's so ingrained, and also with, like, religion. I'm definitely, a different religion than Christianity, and predominantly America is Christian. My parents are constantly telling me, like, don't talk about religion, don't talk about racism, don't talk about politics, because you are different and people will attack you for it. And it's really sad that your parents, even though they love me and they're trying to protect me, and I understand that, they're trying to do it because they've been told, like, your image is everything, and if your image is different, people are going to hate you for it.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
just curious, what religion do you actually
I'm
practice?
Hindu, so.
That's really cool. I
It's
honestly
the hippie
yeah.
religion.
Huh?
The
Hippie
hippie
religion. I like to dump it the hippie
Yeah.
religion because it's all like karma. And like
Yeah,
they were
yeah,
like,
yeah.
and like they're, yeah.
I'd really like to learn about it sometime. I'm interested in it.
Yeah, it's cool.
And like anyone who knew me in elementary school, I was a very quiet person. Never talked to very many people. Maybe one person. But now, I talk quite a bit to certain people. And there's only a few people that really know me.
Yeah.
And once you get to know me, I'm a totally different person. It's kind of scary. And like dry humor, I've grown up with that, so I understand it from anyone.
And like it's been shown in the book, I really don't like this idea that confrontation isn't healthy. Like there's certain levels where you're gonna disagree with people, and sometimes you have to voice that disagreements.
That's a big thing. Where she was like, when they were talking about Obama, she had like so much hope and belief in him. She's like, he's the one, and he was like her
guy.
Yeah, like her North Star. Her like, that is my shining example. Like he was her hope. And whenever she went to these things with Blaine, whenever she went to these like group meetings with all his classy Harvard, he's
Yale.
Harvard,
Yale.
Harvard,
Yale.
Yale.
I think it was Yale.
It was something
Yale.
prestigious.
I was like, Yale or Harvard.
Ivy League
Same
school.
college.
Yeah.
It is not.
Okay, my parents would kill me for that. They're gonna march in here and be like, what did you say?
It is not the same. Anyway, but like all his prestigious friends, and they would critique Obama in almost this really pretentious way, which we'll get into that later. She kind of never said anything because she hated to be disagreeable. Because when she was younger and she was disagreeable, people were like, no one's gonna marry you, you voicing outspoken young lady.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
But you're still very pretty.
yeah. She was so
How
like,
pretty she was. It was like,
yeah.
everyone just had to fall in love with her.
I
You know?
hated this.
Everyone just has
hated
to
that
love
about
her.
her.
Everyone just has to,
Like,
you know.
I mean, there are people like that.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't do it on purpose. I mean,
Oh.
honestly, I won't say her name, but you don't know who I'm talking about. A very close friend of mine. Everyone falls in love with her, and she doesn't seem to understand.
We know someone like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like they don't even try it, but there's also these like
I know where
society has these kind of this bullet list of like things a woman has to be, and it's also with men. Like for women, I guess the generalization is like they have to be, like, fair skin is a thing, it doesn't always have to be, but it's a thing that follows. Like, even in India, where, like, we have brown skin, but, like, you are constantly, like, they're like, oh, you have fair, I have lighter skin than my sister. I definitely don't have the lightest skin, but people are always telling me, like, oh, you're so pretty, you have such beautiful skin. And they'll tell my sister she's pretty, like, with other things, but they never comment on, like, stuff like that. And it's, so, like, fairness is a general thing. I guess long hair. People, like, really don't like women with short hair.
Yeah.
It's like,
Which
they're rebellious.
Exactly.
Which is, like, that is not a good thing.
The whole
you have
image
to be
thing.
demure.
Yeah, it is.
You have to be, like, sweet and shy and, you know, twirling your hair with your finger. You can't talk bad about anything. Your life, and also, like, I think another thing that's been added over the years is, like, being happy. Like, you constantly,
Yeah,
as
you
a woman, and even a man. Like, I guess men, I get,
They don't
if
show
you
their
are
emotions as much.
brood, you can either be happy and, like, confident,
And
or you
funny.
have to be
funny
Yeah,
and
or
happy.
funny, yeah.
or
Funny.
you have to, like, there's two categories for men. Or you have to be dark and broody
Mhm.
and have your beautiful woman bring you out into the light
Yeah.
with your hand and be
Yes.
like, look,
Look,
like,
they're
it's
so
like,
cute. We're
do
so
you guys-
opposites attract.
do you guys know the term manic pixie dream girl?
What?
Kind of rings a bell,
Maybe.
but I'm not sure
Okay,
what
so
you mean.
it's this thing this film critic coined. So it's supposed to describe a woman in a film whose entire purpose is to bring the dark male moody character and make him happy. Like, she's joyful and she runs around and she brings him who's, like, in his, like, I'm horrible, everything sucks, but I'm attractive and I can look off into the distance really well. And her purpose is to make him happy, and there's never any development for her.
Yeah, and then I feel like if Anne does that, but instead of bringing out the happiness, and because her boyfriends were quote unquote happy with themselves and their situation for the most part,
Yeah.
but she pushed down a lot of her own feelings, and I mean, she had doubts about Kurt and Blaine for that matter, but not as much as Blaine. But Kurt, she knew pretty much immediately. If there are things I can't stay around, and I gotta feel, I gotta put my opinions in this box, and then gotta throw the box in the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lock it away.
Yeah, no. Yeah, and it just.
It's sad that she thought she could, because they had a pretty serious relationship. It's sad that she thought, because they talked about marriage, didn't they? And they talked about.
Yes.
It's sad that she actually thought she could live her full life and spend it with this man
And
while suppressing these thoughts. Like, she cut away a part of herself, and it's sad that she was so convinced by everyone around her, even from Nigeria and America, that he's, like, when she broke up with him, Auntie Juju was like, "You're stupid. Why would you break up with this
He
perfect
holds you
guy?"
like an egg. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone
Like,
was just like, oh, he's perfect for you. Why did you do this?
And it's sad, like, they convinced her, that those notions convinced her so much that she had, that cutting away a part of herself and who she was fine if she could keep this perfect guy.
Well, and then I really don't like how we as a society, because there are women who naturally are the happy, they're pretty, they're like, I believe in the best in the world, but we have come to look down upon them because especially this is a problem I've mainly seen with girls and women, and we're like, well, that's unrealistic. You can't be that happy
And they
all
also
the
hate on
time.
them.
Yes.
That's the
Yeah.
thing, like, where people want that secretly, so in the end they'll, like, hate on that person, like, oh, look at her with her
so
super
fake.
stable job and
Yeah.
her boyfriend, you know, I bet she goes home and, like, embezzles money from her, like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
they always. Sorry,
No,
no,
go
okay.
ahead.
Like, there's always people always want to believe they know a person, like, to a point. Like, there's people always want, like, yes, she's happy on the surface, but I know her so well that I know that she's actually depressed.
Yeah.
And they feel so successful when they figure that
It's
out.
that, like, when you dig into
even
a
if it's
person-
not true.
Like, when you have to
Exactly.
find the flaw in someone perfect, just so you know, like, ha, I know that, and then
Yeah.
they'll use
Feel
it against
better,
them,
yeah.
like,
It's like blackmail almost.
Yeah,
Almost.
like,
Yeah.
like, set another scene. You're sitting, like, another person, like, you see a very perfect woman, she's stable job, great boyfriend, he's rich. She's just, like, walking past. And then, normally, this is a lot in movies, you'll see, like, the Viper, like, women who are like, oh, you know, her dad has cancer. Like, stuff like that.
The best friend. It's almost always the best friend. There's like
I
this
hate that.
happy little girl, and then there's the best friend with the dark bangs and the eyeliner that's like, you suck and your dad has cancer.
Yeah, there's
Your dad has
like,
I just said it. I was just like, you suck and your dad has cancer.
term in TV like shows. It's called the brunette and blonde dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like basically it's just where you have two female characters and they're both like the same age and they both go to the same school and one of them has to have brown hair, one of them has blonde hair,
Or just
the
like
brunette,
dark.
or like a
dark.
dark, maybe
Yeah.
not so often red, but
Right.
like
Yeah.
and they always have to. One of them has to always be kind of the rebellious one, and it's usually the darker hair one, and the lighter hair one always has to be stable, like mentally stable, emotionally stable, and everything is just stable with her, and she's like normal, I guess.
Or possibly even naive. Like
Or, like,
crossing
yeah.
it.
That is what I hate
Perfect.
because
Yeah.
I have lighter hair and everyone's like,
Very light hair. Yes.
you're dumb. And I'm like, no.
You're not dumb. If that helps.
Exactly. I know.
I
But the
just-
stereotype
You're not
of
dumb,
blonde
Delaney.
women are, they're naive or they don't know anything. And I'm like, that is not true. I mean, for some women, that is true. But
I don't think it's based off their hair color.
Yeah,
like
the hair color thing is so dumb.
I know.
Well, because I mean, if you have black hair, you dye your hair black. You're going through something. You just went through a
I'm so sorry. My dead cells judge so much, dictate so much about my personality to you. I'm sorry. I'll just, you know.
that's like so much like in the
And like dyeing hair as well.
yeah, like that's like that's like such a huge thing in like the LGBT community. Like if you don't fit the stereotypical bi, gay, lesbian, whatever system, you are not like
It's not
gay.
legitimate.
You're not actually
You're just experimenting.
You're just experimenting. You're not actually gay. You're not actually like bisexual. You're just you're either very closeted or you just are not a part of this and just a part of the minority that's a trend, I guess. And if you don't have like short, like if you're not bi and you have like short colored hair, then you're automatically kind of just thrown into the background and you're seen as like straight, I guess. You're more perceived as straight, so everyone thinks you get
Child. Sorry, we're in a library.
everyone assumes that you get straight privileges.
Right.
Well, and then, I mean, especially I've noticed, because I mean, Instagram, that's a very big platform for the LGBT
Wasn't
community.
Instagram like held like the most like mentally like it
Yeah.
affects
Yeah.
people's mental health horribly?
Yeah.
Like number one.
And, I mean, I've noticed that if a bi person has a partner of the opposite sex, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
you're not legit. Or if a lesbian
Which
doesn't
is
have short hair.
Yeah.
On the short hair
I'm
trend,
just-
or if a non-lesbian has short hair, like, oh, you're so butch, you're such a lesbian. Like,
Right.
uh,
And that's so it's so stupid how even in like places where people are like, oh, I'm super like free to be who I am, there's still certain expectations on who you have to be, because if you're free to be who you are, you also have to fit this criteria of who you are. So
Which I think also kind of plays into that kind of stereotype that everyone puts you in a box, but if you don't fit the box, then everyone just freaks out and puts you in like
Either
a different
they'll-
box and they
either they'll
just
just
no.
say like you're trying to be someone who you're not. So stop trying
with
to
the
be.
hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same friend who I talked about earlier. I was talking like about her. What was I talking? Oh yeah, she has a nickname for me. She calls me Vanilla because like you know, sexual stuff Vanilla.
Oh, that one. Okay, so
She just
I'll ask later.
Yeah, she calls me Vanilla because like, what is it? She has a very like sexual mind. We'll put it at that. So we had like a really weird conversation, and I was talking.
I'll explain to you guys later.
We'll tell this later, guys. So we were just talking, and she was like, "Stop trying to be someone who you're not." And I'm like, "This is a conversation. What are you talking about?" It's very. You got your pressed
I'm
juice.
still sick.
You
Like,
got your pressed juice.
you know what? This is the only thing we have in my refrigerator. So.
Sad.
And slightly off topic, we should probably wrap this episode up. It's been like 45 minutes.
Oh God. Okay.
Anyway, we'll be back.
Yeah, this was
Yes.
episode 1 where we talked about characters. And
I guess
then
this was
the
a
book
reaction
review.
to the book.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, let's just
small
say it was a
preview
character
stuff.
a little
thing.
snippet
Yeah,
of hair.
a little bit, and a little snippet of culture.
Yes,
Appearance,
And religion.
Yeah.
This is like the intro to this.
It was the
thing.
melting pot.
Ooh.
Yes.
Or perhaps it
Episode
was,
1, right for you.
Yeah.
Book Club Americanah.
Do we have an outro?
Ba-da-da-da-da.
No!
Yes, we do that.
Are we gonna end with the Squid Man theme song? Am I gonna imprint myself on the
Yes.
internet forever? Well, okay.
All right.
You guys have to say Squid Man at the end with me.
Okay.
We'll talk about that later.
Okay,
Bye.